Hey guys, Scott Fishman here for Wrestling Inc. And today we have a really cool guest. A lot of fans, WWE fans, of course, know her as Renee Young. She has oral sessions with Renee Paquette for on podcasts right now, making a lot of big moves right now inside and outside the wrestling business. Renee, how you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. I think one thing I forgot to mention is you're also a fellow Taco Bell connoisseur.
Oh my God, I'm obsessed with Taco Bell. Taco Bell is my jam. I love it.
I almost got some nacho fries for this conversation, but
You should
I didn't
have
want to ice you.
I mean, listen, I'm enticed by all food right now, so it's fine. But the nacho fries are perhaps the best drive-through fast food fries of all time, whether you want that cheese dip or not. But a perfectly seasoned fry, perfectly crispy fry. And then my personal favorite from Taco Bell would be the soft taco supreme.
Mm.
That's my move. I love it. Oh my God.
When they got rid of the Mexican pizza, I was pretty bummed, so I'm still waiting for them to bring that back.
That one is a real winner too. Yeah, also very good. Oh, and like the cinnamon twists. Oh,
Mm.
baby. I love me some taco. I've never had Del Taco though.
Oh, okay.
I've
I have some in
heard that
here.
it's not as good, but I need to try it to compare on my own.
Yeah, it's pretty. It has it's unique menu. I mean, I had it here in Orlando, so not too
Okay.
bad. This has been such a crazy year. Just talk about just what have you learned about yourself? Just you're so used to being on the road with WWE for so many years. Where this kind of forced you to kind of take a step back and kind of look at things from a different perspective. So, kind of tell us what have you taken for this last year in this COVID era we've been in?
Yeah, it has been such a crazy year. And, for the first half of it, I guess, like, still being on the road with WWE to a degree of going out to Orlando. I mean, once COVID kind of really kicked in and we stopped doing backstage and backstage got canceled and just kind of adjusting to the way that things have been going and what that trend was. That's what really seemed like the sort of perfect opportunity, which is insane because you would think quitting a job during a pandemic is maybe not the smartest move. You see so many different companies furloughing people and people getting released from contracts and all that. So, I mean, a really scary time for employment, obviously. Um, but the way that I saw it was it sort of just seemed like a new opportunity for a bit of a blank canvas to not necessarily start anew. I've already got such a built-in amazing fan base, which has been incredible. And I really wanted to take a chance on myself. So when that opportunity came up that I was like, man, things at WWE just it didn't feel the same for me. I felt like I was ready to go challenge myself. I was doing the same thing, not really sure what my next move was going to be in WWE. So I was like, you know what? Rather than sitting around and waiting for whatever this other opportunity is going to be or whatever my next like role is going to be within WWE, I kind of feel like I've done all the things that I can do there. So let's branch out a little bit and see what else I can do. And it's been really fun to just reconnect with myself on that level and be back in the driver's seat of my own career to a degree to just kind of get that hustle on and adjusting to what these new times are and being able to work from home and finding new ways to make things work. And it's been going well. It's hard sometimes. It's definitely hard to we've got, especially, we're doing the podcast and I've been so lucky working with the Volume Network that they've just given me such a great platform, but also have this like built-in amazing team that have been great with helping put together the videos and helping me just get the podcasts up and running, get the episodes out. So it's been really nice to have this new team come in, but it would be really nice to eventually hang out with these people in real life. I know these people the same way that we're doing this right now. It's just like through Zoom and through these conversations and everything. But yeah, I think it's just really all about figuring out what this new hustle is and how to make things work, and also being a little bit gracious with ourselves in terms of figuring out how it's all working and giving ourselves a little leeway with it.
Yeah, I mean, and you figure this is probably the perfect time to do that when you're at a point where you have to depend on these different resources and
Yeah.
see how your entrepreneurial spirit will kick in. And then you launched this podcast last year. tell me, what did that do for you mentally? Because people are all at home. You want to focus on something, and you can't leave the house very often. So, what did it do for you on your end, and just being able to focus on this opportunity that came about, and
Yes,
just
it's been really cool to just get my own voice back, to be in complete control of what like the production of the show is, what the content is, what the basis of the interviews are, and to really test that skill out. Because it's funny, as much as people are like, oh, you're the interviewer from WWE, I was like playing an interviewer. It's like I'm given the lines and we have scripts that we're following. So as much as I'm asking people questions, but they're not my own questions. There's not my own follow-ups. It just doesn't really work like that. So now to be able to work in more of this like long format, and to have somebody on for an hour and get to just have a real conversation with them and hone in on my skills as an interviewer and just my general interest in people. I think letting that kind of come up to the surface, I think that for me has been a really, really fun experience. Um, yeah, just kind of sitting in that role and actually getting to be an interviewer has been really, really fun. But yeah, just like I think just the whole experience has been really great for me. And as the show is growing and you see the reaction to it and that people are listening to it and the people really like it, that's awesome. I mean, we know in the wrestling space there's just so much content and there's so many people with different podcasts and all that. So it's finding a way to differentiate yourself from everybody else and try to find a way to stand out. I mean, I obviously have a bit of a leg up on the competition that I have so many built-in friendships within the wrestling world. So I've been really lucky with having awesome guests on the show. But as the show continues to branch out and we're bringing on different personalities and different athletes, and when I first started doing oral sessions, my main goal was not for it to be a wrestling podcast. Those are just my friends that I can get to come on, and my friends that I would love to highlight and let them tell their story and let me pick their brains a little bit. So it's cool now to kind of keep expanding and seeing where the show's going to go.
And it just shows, like, I remember just the broad skill set that you showed, even doing those press junkets for the WWE digital platforms when you're talking to like a Harrison Ford or something like that. Kind of gave us a little taste of what you can
Yikes.
expect when you look back at those interviews. Tell me what that experience was like. How do they look at, you're a WWE interviewer, but you want to show that you're an entertainment, you put your entertainment reporter hat when you're doing these. So how do you kind of show people that are outside the WWE bubble who you are, and just getting them to be comfortable with you as an
Well,
interviewer?
those are honestly, to be completely honest, I hate doing press junkets. I don't like them at all because you go in, you have 5 minutes with somebody, and when you go in and you're like, hey, I'm from WWE, you're not, if I was working for Extra or Access Hollywood or something, you can give them more of a, hey, tell me about your movie and let
Mhm.
them do their spiel. But when you're coming in from like a WWE side, you kind of have to keep that angle where I'd be coming and being, oh, cool, your movie's coming out, awesome. Anyways, what do you know about wrestling? And do you want to work with The Rock? And they kind of roll their eyes at you a little bit because they can tell that you're trying to get your own shit in.
Yeah, for sure.
um and especially within like a 5 minute window, you get really stuck. You have someone giving you like a 3 minute countdown, a 2 minute countdown, like the pressure's just on. The talent have been sitting there all day going through this like circle of different people coming in and this revolving door. So I really never loved doing those interviews. They're a great experience and you get to meet so many people, and there are cool aspects to it, but I never walked away being like, man, what a great interview that was. You just hope you string together something that becomes a 3 to 5 minute segment that you can air on .com or whatever. But that's what I love about being able to do oral sessions is it's this full interview where you really can just highlight the person. There is no ulterior motive of like trying to make some kind of a wrestling connection. We can just talk about whatever they want to talk
Whatever.
about. And I think that's where that comfort level kind of kicks in, where people know that it's just a spot for them to get to have a cool conversation, and that I'll hopefully tee up some great questions to them to let them go off about whatever it is, that whether they want to promote something or it's just their general interests or whatever. It's just such a different thing. And those are the things that I like to listen to myself, is like I love Dak Shepard's podcast. Obviously, Joe Rogan is great in that space as well. So I really want to kind of flush out more being in that long form content, like content space.
Mhm. Do you have who's on your bucket list right now that you want to get or you've been trying
Um,
to get for
I
this?
will always have Chelsea Handler at the tippy top of
Mhm.
my bucket list because she's my absolute favorite. So I'd love to get her. I'd love to get somebody like Aisha Curry on the show. I think she would be really great. I would love to just talk to her about like, her interactions on social media. People freak out when she tweets about Steph Curry. I want to talk about her in the food space. She's just somebody that I think her and I would get on really well. Gosh, who else? I really want to get Stone Cold on. I really want to get Randy Orton on. Randy Orton's top of my list, but we've got his interview coming out with Stone Cold, so I'll have to wait a little bit. But I can't wait to have him on at some point. Um, Paul Heyman is another person I'd love to have on.
That'd be a nice.
Bianca Belair. I mean, when you go into the wrestling space, there's a million people I would love to have
Right.
on the show where I'm like, hey, you. Like Ricky Starks is somebody I would love to have him on. I want to have on MJF. Uh, Especially when you look at the AEW side of things, giving more of that talent that an hour worth of time to get their character over, to get them over as personalities. I really enjoy doing that. So I think, there's a lot of meat at AEW that I would love to have on the show.
And you bring up AEW. You were there in Jacksonville for the big show, big pay-per-view, and then you also did some podcasts while you were there. Tell me, kind of, how do you compare the atmosphere of being backstage at an AEW event for yourself and compared to WWE, and just kind of what were your impressions of doing? Because you haven't gotten a chance to be backstage very often for these shows, so.
Yeah, I don't get to go all that often. Yeah, I've only been there a handful of times. I mean, it's such a welcoming environment. Tony Khan is just a exceptional human being. So anytime we get to like hang out with him and his girlfriend, it's always fun to get to just like see those familiar faces and hang out. But as far as like a work environment goes, it's so different for me because I just show up there as John's wife. I don't have to work. I'm not doing anything. I just get to hang out and enjoy it all. So that part of it's really cool to just sort of go in as a fan and get to enjoy the shows and get to enjoy what everyone's doing there. But I also really like working. So it's so different from me being at WWE where it's like, hey, what am I doing today? What do I have going on? Go through hair and makeup and get all ready and be a part of the big production. So it's funny to be there just as like a fly on the wall. It's very different. I get like antsy where I'm like, should I be doing something? I feel like I should be doing something, but I'm not doing anything.
Right. So, I mean, it's interesting. The unique fan bases in a way, are different in many ways. The AEW fan and the WWE fan, which is interesting because it's all pro wrestling. It's all,
Yeah.
we're all one big community here. So, what do you make of kind of, when you see things happen with an AEW show that might not be going according to plan, and you're seeing the reaction from the WWE fans? So, kind of, what do you think of this kind of time we're in right now?
I mean, I think it can just be very fickle. People seem to have drawn that line in the sand, and people have chosen the side that they want to be on. And like you said, it is funny because it is all wrestling, but it's totally different strokes for different folks. Everyone has the thing that they really, really love, and they're so passionate about that. Um, yeah, I mean, everyone wants to nitpick as well, and I think that's just sort of the thing that comes with not even just wrestling in general, but anything that people are fans of. People love to go on and have those conversations of, whether it's a TV show you like or a movie that you're into or whatever. People love to go on and have their opinion and voice their opinion, and it turns into a whole argument, and it's insane. um but I mean, I guess it's just the passionate side of things, and you have to respect that the people go to bat either way. I mean, if people are huge fans, they're going to really come out swinging for you. But if people are on the other side and they rather complain about things or look at it through, a very critical lens, then, that's their prerogative as well.
Hmm. And how do you, right now, you and John are expecting your first child, not too distant future. When you see him in these kind of matches and you see him, see on the road, and you kind of think about when things are starting to pick up, kind of how do you feel, how you guys preparing mentally for this huge lifestyle change of yours? And just, are you looking at him wrestling differently now, that you guys have a child on the way than you did before?
I don't look at his wrestling any different. You know, he does what he does, and he loves what he does so much. So that alone, I think, is something that's such a great role model for what our daughter will be looking up to. Whether you look at, you know, the gory side of death matches or whatever, I mean, hopefully those won't be happening so often, but it's a thing that he loves, and it's his art form, and it's a thing that he's so passionate about. So I think for her to be able to see that is really cool. But yeah, I mean, as far as preparation goes, we're just kind of like, we don't know what we're getting ourselves into. We've not, you know, as far as like preparation goes, I mean, there's stuff around the house that I'm getting prepared for. And as we're, you know, heading into the final months of me being pregnant and being like, damn, there's going to be another person in this house really soon, you know, you start to think about things a little bit differently. But you know, even from my own perspective, I really want to, I love working, I love what I do for work as well. So it's so important for me to make sure that my daughter will see a woman working and doing her own thing, and also following her passion and following her heart with the things that she wants to do. So I think those are the main things that I just kind of keep in mind, as far as knowing that there's going to be little eyes around just soaking everything in, and how influential that we're going to be in her life in that space. So yeah, it's all just really exciting. I try not to overthink anything. I mean, if your kid's gonna see a death match here or there, it is what it is. We just have to educate her on how wrestling works, and with what her dad does. And I think that's the best that you can do. I don't think you necessarily have to change who you are as people to it. You know, when you have a kid coming into your life, I think it's just a matter of being frank and honest with them about who you are and what you do.
Mhm. And one more question. We're in the middle of Women's History Month, and you blazed certainly your own trail. A lot of came before you, but you've made some major marks in pro wrestling when it comes to women and broadcasting and behind the scenes and things like that. When you look at the landscape of the women in role, you see Beth Phoenix doing an amazing job in NXT. You see women headlining or leading, I should say, these kickoff shows.
Mhm.
But we haven't seen, you know, we see Dasha doing some AEW. What do you think of the landscape for women in wrestling when it comes to the broadcast side and behind the scenes roles? I mean, for me, I one of the criticisms for AEW is it's women's division, but as far as the time, not the quality of the women, but just the time that they're given and the balance. But what are your kind of thoughts of where we are when it comes to women and wrestling, even inside and outside the ring, and then also just where we're going, and what would you like to see? Like for me, I would love to see more women in the creative team to kind of help lead that voice for the women backstage. But tell me about kind of what your thoughts are when
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you to a degree. I mean, I think, you know, if you know, you look at the women's division at AEW and wanting to give them more TV time, but I also think, um, as much as there's a ton of depth in the women's roster at AEW, but there's also a lot of green talent, and you have to make sure that you're protecting people and not putting them in a spot that maybe they're not ready for, because that only hurts people as well. And we've seen that happen time and time again in wrestling, is just pushing somebody full throttle into the spotlight, and it's a spot that maybe they're not quite ready for. Where you see somebody like Jade and Red Velvet, and they've been growing leaps and bounds in these moments that they've been given. And I think that's a great way to help to build new talent, is give them that spotlight here and there and let them shine in ways that they can, rather than being like, hey, you guys want the women to main event tonight because we're doing this full women's evolution. But sometimes they're just not ready to be put in that spotlight, you know. And I think it's grooming people to get there, and they will 100%.
Mhm.
um and as far as, like, you know, as far as the broadcast side and the creative side, 100%. It's it's just being careful about, I don't want to say the word careful, I guess, but just looking at different ways to bring women into the fold with that. I mean, yeah, you look at somebody like Beth Phoenix, who's just, she's outstanding at everything she does, from being in the ring, being a Hall of Famer, to what she's just so great on commentary. But she also works her ass off. Like, she puts in so much work to, she cares, she just cares about wrestling so much, and you can hear that passion
Mhm.
through her broadcasts. And she wants to learn, and she wants to grow, and she wants to be in that spot. And then you have somebody like Mickey James. I mean, at one point she was sitting in during the production meetings on Smack or on Raw. I guess it would have been Raw, looking to put her in that spot, but she's not ready to hang up the boots. So she doesn't necessarily want to be in that spot. But I think as people, as different parts of their career are changing, it's finding ways to get women in there. I mean, you've got somebody like Sarah Del Rey that is down at NXT, and she is so crucial for the women to grow at NXT. I mean, she has such a pivotal role for women's development at wrestling in WWE. She is incredible. I mean, I wish I could still see her step into the ring every now and then, but she's someone that loves what she does. She loves grooming the new talent and getting them ready to hit that big stage. And you can see that through just how great the women are at NXT and how great they are once they get up to the main roster to really thrive in that spot. So it's, as much as we want to keep pushing things forward, we have been, and things have been moving at such an incredible speed, but also things take time and they take nurturing the talent on all sides, from creative to broadcasting to inside the ring. And it's just nurturing people and setting them up for the best success, rather than like, hey, you guys want the women? Here you go. Here are the women. And then people are left kind of like, that wasn't quite what we wanted. I think it's setting everyone up as best as they can.
Yeah. And then before we let you go, I just wanted to congratulate you on becoming a, U.S. citizen officially. I mean,
thank you.
Tell me, what does that mean? What does that mean to you?
It's amazing. It's one of those things that's like, the process is very long. It took me almost a decade to get this done, just in terms of having different work visas and then getting a green card. And it's like, blah, 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 all these things one after another, that when I'm like, hey, I can apply for my citizenship now. And that process takes roughly a year. So to go in and, you go in, you get sworn in, you do the whole oath, and the judge had to be up on a screen because we're in COVID times. And you get sent home with your little certificate, and now I can get a United States passport. It's really cool. It's one of those things that I never would have thought I'd get another citizenship. So it's, I've not reaped any of the benefits yet. I just have the certificate stashed away in a little safety storage unit thing right now. But it's really cool. I mean, I'm so proud to have been able to put in the work to be accepted as a citizen in the United States. It's awesome.
Awesome. All right. Well, why don't you just let people know where they can listen to your podcast? I know you have a cookbook coming out in May that's on pre-order, which a lot of people are excited about. So why all the stuff you got going on?
Give you all the plugs. All right. So you guys can listen to Oral Sessions with me, Renee Paquette. You can get that anywhere you guys listen to podcasts. We drop new episodes on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So get on there, check everything out. I also am releasing all the videos on my YouTube, which if you search my name on YouTube, everything is on there. If you want to just watch the clips or the full episodes, those are all up on there. And my cookbook, Messy in the Kitchen, that is coming out May 18th, which you can pre-order on Amazon right now.